Crystal, I want to start with you first and have you talk about what is it at Baptist that you all do that is associated with dementia and Alzheimer's and all forms of dementia, and what you provide to not only the patient but the caregiver.
So here at Baptist Health, we have a 23-bed geriatric psychiatric unit, and being geriatric, it's 55 and older, but quite a bit of our population is 75 and older. So we see a huge population of dementia, early Alzheimer's, and even some end-stage Alzheimer's. Our psychiatric care includes two psychiatrists who both specialize in geriatric care, and one of them actually does a lot of research with Alzheimer's. So for us, it only makes sense to be part of the Alzheimer's walk every year because we're treating that population. With the families that we service, we provide a lot of education to them. Sometimes it's their very first instance or incidents dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia, and they don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know much about the disease and its progression. So we spend quite a bit of time just talking with families, letting them know what to expect, letting them know what their resources are. And one of the biggest resources that we do have here in the River Valley is the Alzheimer's Association. We can refer to them and they can get, more support groups, more education, and know what's out there for them.
Holly, the same for you. I know you've got two different aspects at your location that deal with different subjects, I suppose. Explain what happens there.
Sure. We are Legacy Heights and Memory Lane. We have 3 levels of care here. First, independent, where the residents actually able to take care of their basic needs, and we provide the security, housekeeping, meals, laundry, the other supports that aren't necessarily clinical in nature. And then we also have level 1 and level 2 specialty licenses, Alzheimer's special care units, which is a special accreditation that we have. And for those individuals, we provide 24-hour care, helping them with their medications, their memory, all their activities. Everything is provided for them. And then we do a lot of education with the families as well, because it's a whole family dynamic when your relative gets a diagnosis of some type of dementia, and it's just a whole support system that we provide around that individual, kind of a person-centered care approach.
So it makes sense for you all to be a part of the walk as well, too.
Absolutely. We for years we've had different fundraising things that we've done with the Alzheimer's Association, getting our families involved with that as well, and exposing them to all the support the Alzheimer's Association can give.
Holly, I want you to talk about this, and Crystal, you can respond after Holly. But if you both mentioned education, how many members of a family or family members will come into both your locations and not have the first clue as to how to take care of a loved one, and they feel like they're the only ones in the whole world that's ever been through this? Holly, how do you address that sort of thing?
What a great question, Daren. So many of our families come to us at a loss because it's their mom or dad that they've loved all their life, and they've depended on this person, and this is the strong person of their family, and all of a sudden they're not, and they don't really know how to handle that or what to do, or should they argue with them or should they agree with them. And most people don't really know what to do until they actually search out some help from somebody like the Alzheimer's Association or memory care.
Crystal, the same for you. I imagine you get that same kind of fear when people come in the doors.
We do. We get a great deal of fear. And the other part that I think that people don't take into consideration is there's also sometimes a level of embarrassment because the family, they're embarrassed that they don't know what to do, but they're also, like you said, they think they're the only ones, or their loved one's behavior is so out of range for what it normally is. It's so far away from their normal. They don't want to tell anybody that, mom's doing this or dad's been doing this or grandpa's been doing this. but it's so typical for us. We see it every day. Every patient goes through some of those same behavior changes. So we just try to normalize it for them, provide them, the utmost support that we can, and let them know that they're not alone, because there's so many organizations like Memory Lane. There's, us, and it it's normal for us, but not so normal for them. But we try to, just help them feel a lot better about it with that education approach.
And Crystal, it's how much does denial play in this? They're not going through any of this. It can't be that.
There's a lot of denial, and then sometimes families get upset with us. Um, they may say, "Well, Grandpa's been doing that for the past 20 years." It's not that. Well, Grandpa may have been early Alzheimer's, for the past 20 years. That's the thing. Um, it's learning that this is a new normal, and that things won't ever go back to what they used to be, and that's the hard part to accept. Families sometimes start that grieving process, which includes denial, because they're grieving who their loved one once was. And so part of that denial, we know, is part of the process. And we're prepared for that as well, to let them know that we know it's hard, but we're here for you.
Holly, and you both can talk about this. Start with you first, Holly. Is how important is it to have events like Walk to End Alzheimer's, not only in Fort Smith but around the country, but especially in Fort Smith? How is it important for you all to have events like this?
Well, the publicity that the walk does is for sure helping to educate other people in the community. Just like Crystal said, is maybe I do need to seek this out or not be embarrassed because my mother or father or aunt or uncle are doing this or that. So it provides the educational and awareness of the disease and promotes that. The Alzheimer's promotes that education and awareness very well. The other thing is sometimes you have a couple, a husband and wife, and the wife develops dementia, but the husband is there living with them and kind of covers for the wife, and not any of the family members really understand that there might be something going on until something happens to the husband, and then all of a sudden the kids are like, "Oh, what happened to mom?" And so the Alzheimer's Association also helps with that, is kind of normalizing it. Like Crystal said, if you're sitting in front of the TV and you see Daren Bob coming on talking about the Alzheimer's Association and what they're doing, that makes them think that maybe they can seek some other assistance for their family member.
And now, Crystal, I know that the day of the event, it seems like not only is it a celebration of a year-long fundraising, but man, it really turns into an educational affair.
It absolutely does. And I love what Holly mentioned. Like, if you see someone that you're familiar with on TV talking about it, it puts things into perspective that everyday people are affected by this. It's not just, this person who had this kind of lifestyle. No one has dementia as part of their retirement plan, right? It's
Right.
something that happens to people, and they didn't ask for it. So at Walk Day, you see so many different people, and you may have never known that they had this going on in their family, or what struggle they have. So it's something that's out there that's touching everybody, more people than you know of. And so when you see familiar faces at Walk Day, you're like, "Oh wow, how are you involved in this?" Or you get to hear people's stories, and it's real life,
Yeah, I know we all have our stories, and I do this for my mother, of course, after being diagnosed a couple of years ago. But Crystal, you and I serve on the committee, and we obviously want to say thank you to Baptist and Legacy Heights and Memory Lane for being presenting sponsors. That is such a very important thing to have for an event like this. And as one of the leaders of the committee to do all this, I want to say thank you as well too. And we look forward to having you all out there in September.